This experiment is going to be the sequel to last week's video. It's going to be more complex, so it'll help if you remember the difference between an acid and a base. And also remember that there's such a thing as a neutral solution, which is either an acid and a base or neither, kind of like water. Now, also remember that solution is just a fancy word for liquid, at least for our case. And then there's such a thing as an indicator. Now, last week was our purple cabbage juice, but this week we'll be using phenolphthalein. Phenolphthalein is a chemical that's really fun to say. Phenolphthalein. It's kind of like the pH in the middle is completely silent. Phenolphthalein. Phenolphthalein and iodide are going to be our hazards for this experiment. They're skin irritants, eye irritants, flammable, and possible carcinogens. But as long as we're wearing our safety equipment, it shouldn't be an issue. And by the time we're done with the experiment and we add a little bit of water, they'll be safe enough to pour down the drain. Phenolphthalein is really fun to say, but it can be dangerous. So if you want to, just use purple cabbage juice from last week, or make up a new batch. It will make a couple different color changes, but it'll do the trick. This experiment is from madaboutjesus.net. It's experiment 11A. To start, we have 4 clear cups. Now, our first cup, we are going to put 1 part vinegar and 3 parts water. And then we're going to add a little bit of iodine. And this will make a gold solution. Now this is going to be our gold person, a really good person. They try to be kind and good to all. And the second cup, this is just spray starch. Just get it all in there. This is going to be our world. And then our third cup, we're going to have a little bit of water and just a couple teaspoons of your powdered laundry detergent or stain remover. And then just mix that around. It's okay if it doesn't completely dissolve. Our third cup is where we're going to put our phenolphthalein. Just a couple drops. As you can see, it turns pink. And we're going to use this representing God because pink, well, red, is the color of love. And then our fourth cup is just for mixing purposes. So what do you think will happen when we pour our gold person into our starchy world? This person is good and it is being affected by all of the bad and evil in the world. What do you think will happen? Well, let's find out. Oh no. It turned black. Well, what happened there? This smells pretty strong, but you'll be fine for the duration of this experiment. So, what happened? Well, theistically, the world is pulling down on this good person. All the evil and all the bad in the world is just making this person turn bad and act out. So, scientifically, what happened? How did a gold solution and a white powder turn black? Well, you see, when the starch and the iodide reacted, they are transferring a charge, kind of like electricity. They're transferring electricity, and this changes their energy levels. And when the energy levels change, this changes the way the light is being absorbed. And therefore, we see a different color, because a different color is being absorbed. Kind of like the sky. It's blue during the day, but when the sun sets, you see all kinds of colors. Purple, pink, orange. Now we will pour God and our bad person together. We are pouring our phenolphthalein and base into our black solution. Like, what happens when God comes into a bad person's life? Well, let's find out. We will pour these together. And swirl it around. And look what's happening. It's turning clear. So, what happened here? Well, theistically, or referring to God, God has come into this person, has filled him with all of his love, and took the bad out. Now, scientifically, this is going to be a little bit more challenging. You see, phenolphthalein is our indicator. kind of like the purple cabbage juice from last week's experiment. And the phenolphthalein, when in a base, turns pink. But when in a neutral solution, it's clear. Phenolphthalein in a neutral solution is kind of like your starch and iodine complex, or reaction. Phenolphthalein loses a hydrogen and it changes the energy levels, which also changes the light that's being absorbed, and that changes the light that we see. I hope that I made this clear, but the video is here for you to watch whenever and as often as you want, and I hope you take advantage of that. I think that the more you watch it, the more you'll understand. Please, feel free to contact me with any questions, but I encourage you to do the research by yourself or with a parent. You might be surprised what you'll learn. And until next time, bye!